amazing how we can drive past and not see them at all. And next thing, this 200 kilogram bulk of an animal comes ghosting through behind you. That's what a male kudu looks like. Very, very impressive. He's in attendance with his females. He's wanting to know if there's any chance that he can sire the next generation. Beautiful starling. So that glossiness comes from a transparent layer of keratin that's coating their feathers, which refract light. And the sunshine there. If you wouldn't mind going back to that guy, have a look at that. Wow. Beautiful example of a male kudu. Have a look at that impressive beard, a crest of hair along his back. They're able to erect that hair and make himself in profile look big. And with the markings on it, I'm just going to go around the bush quickly and see if we can get into a nice view to see him again. Lion print. Yes. Okay. It's old So this kudu at the moment is doing his disappearing trick again, hiding behind those bushes. There he comes. You'll be able to see him ghosting through the bush there. Just catch the movement. He's playing hard to get. You can just see his nose in the bottom right-hand corner. And the glimpse of a horn. You'd never think that there was a 500-pound animal that's busy hiding in the bushes over there, 50 meters away from the car. Those stripes on his coat and that grey body giving him the camouflage that he needs to blend into the bush and hide away. See, very effective camouflage there. Because they're browsers, you can expect them to be in bushy areas like this, and that grey color that he has is to blend into background, and the stripes, the white stripes that you can just see through the underbrush there, are there to give that disruptive breakup, like shafts of sunlight coming through a canopy of trees, making him all but invisible. I mean, we drove right past him, we didn't even see him, and I was looking for a male kudu following these females, so very effective. Lovely morning over here. So, let's keep on going. VM did point out some lion tracks on the floor next to us while I was busy looking at the kudu. And I'm going to see if we can see that. See if VM can go up a little bit, VM. There we go. It's really tough to see, but that's a lion track. Let's See if we can find another one. They're old lion tracks, I would say, from yesterday. They're not fresh enough to follow at the moment. I'd gather it was from the male lion that we saw yesterday morning in attendance with that male and female. One of them are Timber brothers. Go right ahead. Hello Jeffrey in the UK. Thanks for sending your question through to me about oxpeckers and their preference for animals and preference for tick species. Oxpeckers definitely do have a preference for the animals that they like to sit on. For instance, you don't see oxpeckers sitting on elephants, but you do see oxpeckers sitting on buffalo and rhinoceros. And that's because the animals that carry the higher tick loads are the ones preferred by the oxpeckers, or animals that like to live in dense herds, for instance like impala. So absolutely, giraffe, rhino, buffalo, kudu, impala, zebra, wildebeest are probably the most common of the animals, as far as I can think at the moment, are probably the most common animals that oxpeckers like to sit on. You get two different types of oxpeckers in this area. You get the red-billed oxpecker. By far the most common of the oxpeckers was the one that we just watched on the kudu. And then you get a yellow-billed oxpecker as well. They were exterminated from this area about 60 years ago, unfortunately, with the use of insecticide in cattle farms neighboring these reserves. And very quickly they were exterminated because the birds ate the ticks that were poisoned by the insecticide and were exterminated before we really even realized what we were doing 60 years ago. As you can imagine, ecology and the study of the environment wasn't a natural science as common as what it is today. People did things in those days ignorantly that we're even feeling their repercussions today from. They were reintroduced into this area about, correct me if I'm wrong please, there's lots of reference material available on the web, I can't think of it right now, but about 20 years ago, a couple of pairs were reintroduced into the Sabi Sands, and they are doing incredibly well, the yellow-billed oxpecker. The reason why the red-billed oxpecker wasn't as affected as the yellow-billed oxpecker, and it is the reason why the red-billed oxpecker is more common, is because the red-billed oxpecker substitutes the ticks that it eats with blood and with keeping wounds open on animals. Both species do eat blood, but the red-billed oxpecker definitely eats more blood than what the yellow-billed oxpecker does. And so it wasn't as badly affected by the use of this particular pesticide. Red-billed oxpecker are our friends out here, as much as what they give our presence away when we're walking around in the bush. They also help us to find animals. They've got a very distinctive call, and very often we like we enjoy sightings because of oxpeckers that have helped us to relocate animals. Show the message. So Deanne from Washington, welcome to the show, asked if there was a difference between ticks and fleas. Absolutely, there's a very big difference between ticks and fleas. They're both parasites that live on animals. Ticks are flattened dorsoventrally, so they flattened pancakes. Fleas are flattened laterally is the correct word to use. They flatten sideways and they jump. Ticks crawl around, fleas jump around. The animals out here have both, but by far the more numerous, at least visually, are ticks. They are big and small, whereas fleas are tiny little things and we don't really see them. They're tough to see even with binoculars. But thank you for your question. Sun is just starting to peer out of the clouds at the moment. It's going to be time for me to get a hat out soon. Not only to protect myself from getting sunburned, but also to protect your eyes from the reflection off of my head. So while I'm scanning the bush, and for the benefit of those viewers who have just joined us or have joined us through the course of the morning, we woke up quite early this morning to the sound of some hyena around the camp, and in the dark, myself and VM on camera left the lodge. We leave the lodge quite early, 6 o'clock. And we're updated from our final control that some viewers had found or had seen leopard at the dam and hyena at the dam. We then decided with a team effort, a couple of rangers working together, that we'd work to try and find this animal. We were working up and down a drainage line leading into the dam, and our colleagues found Quinuma, a young male leopard, in the tree, or in a tree, with a steenbok killed just around the dam. And he had killed last night. We then joined Quinuma for a bit. He was lying in the tree initially, and then he got down for a rest. There was a hyena lying quite close to him. And now we are quartering through the reserve. I'm looking for some elephant. I woke up with a need this morning to see some elephant. And we'll see potentially in a bit. If we don't find too much, we'll go back and see if Quinuma is back into the tree and finishing off his breakfast. While we're driving around, you're welcome to send us questions. Questions get radioed through to me, and they can either be done through Twitter with hashtag @SafariLive, or emailed through to questions@WildEarth.tv. Been a relatively quiet day on the reserve so far, due to the overcast weather and the cooler temperatures. And that's what's so nice about coming on safari, is that you don't actually know what you're going to see. You have an idea of what you'd like to see. You'd like to, for instance, follow up on a lead, like there was a leopard scene. at a dam a couple of hours ago, or you found some fresh tracks, or you heard something in the bush, lions roaring for instance, or trees crashing down, but you don't actually know what you're going to find. The bush talks to you. Rangers out here call it the bush newspaper, and it takes a little bit of practice to understand what the bush is trying to tell you, but animals move. They move from area to area. We're part of a collection of reserves with no boundaries between us except for man's boundaries, roads and fire breaks and power lines, etc. There's no fences. So why I've stopped is that there's an alarm call, quite a sharp alarm call coming from our left-hand side. Sounds like the alarm call from a mongoose. Just so happens to be a prime example of one of these newspaper articles that we're reading. This mongoose is busy alarm calling at something, and I'd like to know what. It could be anything. It could be a raptor. It could also be a leopard, or a lion in actual fact. Just a little bit behind us. So what I'm going to do now is scan, coming from behind it. I'm scanning the bush at the moment to see if I can see anything. I can't see anything immediately apparent, which is a good sign. So exactly where you're looking at the moment, behind that tree, that's where the alarm calls are coming from. I can't actually see the mongoose. They would have dived for cover at the first sign of whatever alerted them. They live in social groups, and while the family is foraging, one of the social groups will always be on the lookout for predators. Now, they're quite small, these little guys, and they get preyed upon by a whole variety of different predators, from snakes through to large predators like leopard, and then also birds. So these guys giving us a warning call over here. I'm busy looking not only for snakes, I'm also looking for raptors and birds of prey. I can't see anything. Doesn't mean that something's not here though. As I said, the bush is telling me that there's a predator here. And until I know what predator that is, or have an idea of what predator that is, we can't be too sure that it's not a leopard hiding in the grass right here. Here's the torchwood, Balanites species. Quite often thick trees like this would harbor a raptor like a goshawk who do hunt from cover. I don't see any goshawk in this tree at the moment, so that discounts a goshawk. I don't see any eagles flying over me, so that discounts an eagle. So the only thing that I can think of is a ground-based predator that's run into these guys. So we've got snake, we've got any number of cat species, from African wildcat, serval, caracal and leopard, and then we've got snakes. So now the only other option left to me is actually to take a quick walk in here. Now, for those of you worried about my safety, don't worry too much. I'm going to be relatively close to the vehicle. I'm not going to walk very far away. You'll be able to see me. And I'm just going to go and have a look. The reason being is out here, you've got a couple curiosity with a bit of caution. But what we do is we take calculated risks. I'm calculating the odds of there being a leopard right here or a lion being right here as fairly low. But what I am inquisitive about, I want to know what these mongoose are frightened of. And what it could result in is us having a nice sighting of a python or some other big snake, or a rare cat species like an African wildcat or a caracal, which you don't often see. So I'm going to take a risk by jumping off the car. It's something that I've done many hundreds of times, and it piques my interest to understand what makes these little guys so jumpy. So they're still giving the alarm call. It's not too far away from the car, 20 or 30 meters. I'm going to ask VM to stay on wide angle, because quite often you spook a bird of prey out of a tree close by, and I'm going to see if perhaps we can get something out of the bush here. Give me 5 minutes. So I'm not too sure at all what was giving them an alarm call. So if I were to take a guess, it's probably a bird of prey that flew quite low down over them and gave them all a big fright, and has got them all jumpy and giving their alarm calls. But there's absolutely nothing where they were standing. I found them as I walked in there. They gave me a little bit of space. They're all in the grass over there watching me and moving about. It's a little social group of dwarf mongoose. Nothing that is immediately apparent to me. There is something here. Something spooked them, but I couldn't find out what it is. So it's either a bird or it's a snake that was hunting them, but nothing immediately apparent. So let's carry on with our safari. I'm still busy scanning the tall trees out here. My gut feel tells me that it was a bird of prey that's come over here. Goshawk or sparrowhawk, or even one of the smaller eagles like a African harrier hawk. But nothing immediately apparent. So we're going to be carrying on. We're going to move out of that particular area. So notice in front of us, the road is actually quite wide. This is one of our fire breaks. Our fire breaks in an area like this is vitally important. They are used in preventing fire from being able to damage too much property. Fire has to happen in the bush. It's a way for Mother Nature to clean up a build-up at least of dead wood and detritus, which otherwise might produce such an enormous fuel load that eventually when it does burn will even set living trees alight. So you get fires coming through here periodically. We don't try and stop them too much. We will try and stop them from burning down property, lodges for instance, which pose a significant safety risk. And here on the road beneath me I have female leopard tracks. So we've got relatively fresh female leopard tracks on the road in front of us. What I'm going to try and do now is following the sequence of tracks, I'm going to try and determine an approximate age of this track. So was it laid down this morning? Was it laid down yesterday? In other words, is it fresh enough to invest time and effort in following? By fresh enough, because it takes quite a while to track or trail these animals, you want a set of tracks that was laid down within a couple of minutes to a couple of hours of where you are, where you find those tracks. So the one track that I did see back there was done in some soft sand. Soft sand can hold a track shape for a while. And now I see that the leopard track has got a millipede. I'm going to see if I can actually show this to you. So that you can get an idea of what I'm talking about in terms of what the newspaper has just told us about this track. Now, let me see which is going to be the easiest track for you to see. But believe it or not, that set of indentations in the sand is the track of a female leopard. Now, with a grass blade, I'm going to try and show you exactly what I mean, or what I'm talking about. I think a stick's going to work better, but we have the back of the pad there, and the toes, 1, 2, 3, 4 toes that have registered. Now, the leopard is walking in this direction. So this is the direction of travel. And you will notice that this funny line here, this light line, that is a millipede. Now, millipedes only walk around at night time. So the track was laid down, then the millipede came over it, which tells me that this track was made early evening before the millipedes got active. So early evening, which was yesterday afternoon or yesterday night. So at the moment, these tracks are not fresh enough to follow, although we're going to be moving in the direction she's traveling, down the road, and see if we can pick up fresher tracks. Now, what's quite interesting is I can actually tell you that this track is the back foot of a female leopard, and it's the back right foot of a female leopard. And the easy way of doing that is you take your fingers and you put them in the toes, and you see which ones match up. And you'll notice that this outside toe is slightly lower than that toe. If I had to put a piece of grass there, you'd see what I was meaning. And it matches my fingers. So this is the back foot, the back right foot of a female leopard with a millipede track over it. So let's carry on going down the road. So anyway, in the night, in an evening, so leopard walk around at night. They walk around a couple of kilometers a night. We've got a drainage line in front of us. She may or may not have made a kill. She may have been marking some territory. Only by following these tracks will we actually find out exactly what she was doing. So William has just asked me what my full name and surname is, and please excuse me if I'm not doing it enough, folks. I know it's my second drive out here. And for those of you who've been watching the show for a long time, you may not recognize me or you may recognize me as a new face, I should say. So my name is Stefan Winterboer, and I'm a South African by birth, and I was born in Pretoria, which is the nation's capital. I'm going to be turning around over here. Her tracks don't come out onto this particular road. Repeat the name there. Tend to walk in trajectories, in linear trajectories. So they don't like to jink around. They may do to visit a tree or hunt something, but in general what they do is they walk in one particular direction for a bit, and then something happens and they change that direction. So because we haven't got any tracks coming out on this road, I've got a feeling that she's in the bushes on the left hand side of us. or have moved through this block. The tracks are not that fresh. We're going to go around to the other side of this block and see if she comes out. Obviously keeping our eyes and ears open for any telltale signs that she might still be in the block. These would be animals giving their alarm calls predominantly as a way that we find that information. Failing that and given enough time, we may actually track her footprints into the block with the hope of putting ourselves into the mindset of the animal. You get that information from the tracks. You get it from studying the behavior of these animals over long periods of time. When was the last time she ate? Has she got cubs? Is she being... Right. There we go. Liam's just spotted a steenbok. Ah, there we go. Now that is a very good spot there, Liam. Well done. That is what Kunyuma was eating. So what was left of Kunyuma's kill was just the hindquarters. This is what it looked like before he decided to make a meal of it. A dwarf antelope, one of the 4 dwarf antelope that we find in this particular area. Those being duiker, steenbok, klipspringer, only 3 dwarf antelope actually. Duiker, steenbok and klipspringer. You don't find sharp-scraced buck on this side of the reserve. So steenbok, good spot there, Wiem. They hardly ever stand out in the open. They don't enjoy thick bush. That duiker enjoy thick bush. These guys enjoy their open patches of grass, but they're very quick to move, usually sprinting away as soon as they see that you've seen them. Okay, it stands through there. They're also browsers. And steenbok have some quite interesting behavioral characteristics. Because they're obviously small and don't possess a massive set of horns or anything else that they can really attack a predator with, their best form of defense is to be unnoticed. And what they do is they freeze. So if they had to see a leopard or a cheetah, they freeze and they sink down onto their haunches and they lie absolutely dead still, not even the flicker of an ear. But it goes one step further. They're also well known to bury their dung. So very similar to a house cat who will dig a scrape in their litter box, defecate, and then scrape it up again. Steenbok exhibit exactly the same behavior. They dig a scrape, they defecate in the scrape, and then they cover it again. All in an effort to minimize their presence in a particular area. I don't know of a single other antelope species that deposits its dung in such a fashion. Unique, as far as I understand it, to be in the animal world. I have to say thank you for everyone's concerns over me getting some sunburn on my head. Thank you very much. I appreciate your concern. I do wear a very thick layer of sun cream and sunblock. It's partly why I worry so much that my reflection is blinding you on your screens at home. And I do have a hat in my guiding bag, which as soon as I start feeling the temperature heat up too much, I promise you I'll put on. But thank you very, very much. Also, on the note of getting to know me a little bit better, I do have some favorite animals in the bush. I have a favorite in terms of hyena and honey badger. I really, really enjoy hyena and honey badger. Those are my two favorites. I do enjoy watching leopard and lion. Obviously their presence is just phenomenal. They definitely have a special place in my heart. But in different aspects and different types of the bush, I like different things. I've guided and toured across most of southern and East Africa. And in different areas, different things hold my attention. Definitely a common denominator is spotted hyena and honey badger. Do I have a bucket list of animals that I'd like to see? Absolutely. I would still like to spend some more time with pangolin and aardvark. Excuse me, waving like this is just you drive through these bands of flies out here that absolutely irritate me, so I enjoy swatting them around. So it's not me doing some funky dance. I definitely like to see some of the rarer antelope species, Liechtenstein's hartebeest and Defassa waterbuck. I enjoy touring through areas as well. Seeing new sites, visiting new national parks, camping out in the wild. Go right ahead. So Wiley on Twitter just asked me if you find any of the other dwarf antelope species like Sunni out here. There are no Sunni in the Sabi Sands. You do find Sharp's Gracebuck, Klipspringer, Duiker, and Steenbuck are the 4 dwarf antelope species that we find here. Common duiker, many different types of duiker in Africa. The further you get toward the tropics, the duiker species actually increase in number, and in places like the Congo and in the very thick tropical rainforests around the equator, duiker species are the most common of the forest species that you find. Quite a big diverse mix of them. Like here you only find the common or the grey duiker, the Steenbuck, Klipspringer, and Sharp's Gracebuck. So I'm sorry if I created some confusion there with my bucket list of animals. Simon on Twitter has just asked me, what is a pangolin? That's a good question. Another word for a pangolin is a scaly anteater. The closest thing that I can find in my brain at the moment as a comparison would be a armadillo, but with plates, round plates on them. It's a tiny little animal, probably about this big, and has these discs on it. They're scales, but they're quite big scales, and they eat termites and ants. Now, the reason why I stopped there was because we've got some fresh elephant tracks on the floor. They are going away from us, but they're also not that fresh. They were made probably early this morning, so I'm going to circle this block and see if we can find this elephant as well. It's nice. The elephant tracks and the hyena and the leopard tracks are all going in a similar direction, so it works in our favor, and that we seem to have a convergence of the two animals that I'm wanting to find this morning. Let's have a quick look while we're here. It's what's happening at the dam. It's still a little bit cool this morning, so I doubt too much will be happening here. With that changing as the day heats up. As the day heats up, these dams become the focal point of a lot of interaction with animals, or procession of animals that come in and go out. At the moment, nothing much except for grey heron fishing on the far bank. Not even the crocodile that is here can be seen. There's the grey heron changing fishing spots. Beautiful bird. It's always a good idea when you are at a dam like this, just to take 1 or 2 minutes just to scan the fringes of the dam. You'd be surprised at what can hide away at the fringes of the dam. We are in a drier time of the year. We haven't had as much rain as what we've expected to have this year. Looks like we're going into everyone's predicting that we're going into a drought, and it certainly looks that way. And quite often predators, as it starts getting drier, would start to concentrate their hunting efforts around dams and pans. They know that the animals must come to them. Unlike when it's wet, they have to go and find animals who are spread thinly through the bush. So it's always a good idea. We have come here, take some time, scan around. It's called glassing, when I take my binoculars and I glass the fringes and in the shadows and likely hiding places and ambush spots. This is Buffelshoek Dam, for those of you who are familiar with the property. And definitely a focal point for a lot of cat action over the last couple of weeks. Go right ahead. Excuse me, just repeat a bit slower. So Brenda in Pennsylvania has just asked if there's any safe areas to fish in the Kruger National Park or in its surrounding areas. Hello, Brenda. Thank you for your question. The Kruger National Park is a national park, and therefore fishing is illegal. The mandate of the Kruger National Park is to protect biodiversity in all its forms, and so fishing, unfortunately, is not allowed in the Kruger National Park. However, there's very good fishing just on the edges of the Kruger National Park. Probably the best examples of which would be in a little town called Dullstroom that has a long history of trout fishing. Trout were introduced there about 60 years ago, and there's some very good trout fishing in that part of the world. There's also very good yellowfish fishing and even some tigerfish that you can find in the Sabi River. And I do have friends that fish quite often for the yellowfish and for tigerfish in these areas. However, I'm not too sure if there's any places specifically designated for fishing. Only designated fishing places I know of are in Dilstrom for the trout. Right, so I can't see anything around the dam. So I think let's carry on quartering the block where we found the elephant tracks going in and the leopard tracks going in, and seeing if we can't get either in front of those tracks or onto some fresher tracks along the same sequence. This time of the year, the bush has this lovely, warm smell emanating from it. As autumn's approaching and the trees are starting to drop their leaves, you'll notice on some of the trees, the yellow and gold colors of the dropping leaves in the grass forms a mat on the floor, and the action of decomposition and breaking down gives the air on still mornings like this the most wonderful, warm, toasty, musty smell, which is indicative of this time of the year. May is one of my favorite months. The grass is starting to lie flat and the trees are starting to lose their leaves, which makes looking into the bush a lot easier. And the animals are very well fed after a good summer, so they're not looking gaunt like they are at the end of the dry season, which we're going into at the moment. And the blessing of cooler evenings and cooler days also make it a lot easier to live out here in the bush. I'm going to switch my car off for a bit and just listen a bit closer. In the screen, it might be difficult for us to get. If you zoom in, if you can, there's a green pigeon in the Jackalberry where the Marula branch ends and the Jackalberry starts, on that transition, on that break. If you go up a little bit, up, to the left a bit, stop there. Okay, in the center, the direct center of the screen is a green pigeon. There we go. Yellow socks and all. Very difficult bird to see in the foliage of a tree. Have a look at that. Not an easy bird to get on film whatsoever. I must say congratulations to VM for that. Camouflage pigeon. It's the largest pigeon that we find in this particular area. And it's a frugivore, which means that it eats fruit. And it's in a jackalberry at the moment. You can see its beak actually had some jackalberry fruit all over. pigeon. Something nice to check off your list of birds. So you'll notice I'm driving quite slowly, and that's just to give me enough chance to quarter both sides of the road and scan, and to listen without wind noise in my ear, and to give me a chance to make use of any sandy patches on the road to see for tracks. Using my ears. Thankfully, I have big ears. Helps me listen to everything in the bush. Franklin has calmed down completely, so he was just having a moment. He's not giving any alarm calls. Sorry, Aubrey, could you repeat that? Or last station, just repeat that message. Copy that, thanks. So we're following this drainage line. We're quartering our way through the bush where where a little bit earlier we've picked up some leopard tracks moving into this area. It's a female leopard. The tracks were from early last night or yesterday afternoon. And now what we're trying to do is pick up where she left the block and see if we can see her, or see if we can get any or onto any fresher tracks. There was also some tracks of an elephant moving into this area, an elephant bull. Big. Now with them diet changing from grass to more woody species of tree, where we are now is a good place to look for them. Don't forget, you're welcome to send your questions through on Twitter at #SafariLive, or email them through to questions@wildearth.tv. right ahead. So William on Twitter has just asked me if I've heard of any talk or any developments around bringing back carrier pigeons. William, I haven't. I must be honest that I thought that carrier pigeons were extinct. Although you may have found that they found some genetic material from somewhere, and with the advances in science that they've got today, I wouldn't put it past them to find a way to bring back carrier pigeons if they found some genetic material. I thought, as far as I know, at least anyway, that carrier pigeons have been extinct for a while. However, the beauty of what we have at the moment is we can put that question out there to the world. So if any of you have any information or can find any information on carrier pigeons and their potential of being brought back from either the fossil record, or if there was some or other type of carrier pigeon that I didn't know about that was in captivity somewhere, please, you're welcome to share it with us either on Twitter or email it through to Final Control, and I'll share it to the rest of the viewers. What I did want to show you over here is a sign on this branch. You'll notice that there are some scratch marks on this tree. That is typical of lion. That's a lion who has walked down this road, and there you can see 3 of its claw marks sharpening his claws. And the stop that this has given us, or the chance to stop that this has given us, is let me hear squirrels that are giving a big alarm call in front of us. So I'm quickly going to rush off and see what is giving this squirrel a hard time. I'm quickly going to move into this area. Squirrels don't often call for long. I actually think that I want to get into the drainage line. Let's quickly just check on this road, and then I think I'm going to go into the drainage line. You see, folks, I'm going to pick up the speed a little bit, and the reason for that is that if it is a leopard, which I'm expecting it to be, this female that we've been tracking, if she gets seen, quite often they move out of an area when they get seen by a squirrel quite quickly, and all you're left with is a shouting squirrel and some tracks in the sand, and it takes you forever to try and find this animal again. So we're quickly just going to jump into the riverbed. That squirrel sounds like he's shouting into the riverbed. I'm going to see if we've managed to read this sign good enough, well enough I should say. I'm going to jump into the riverbed here. Let's have a look. Tracks of that female leopard are heading right to this area. As I've mentioned, leopard enjoy walking in straight lines. That squirrel is still shouting his head off, which is good. So let's slow everything down again. Keep our eyes peeled. Let's first find the squirrel. See where he is busy shouting. as so often happens, as you get here, the squirrel stops calling. The VM's just spotted a mongoose, which might be the reason why the squirrel is giving a call. And carry on and have a look. Squirrels do get preyed upon by mongoose, and so they will react to mongoose. And even if we don't find anything, it's lovely to drive in a riverbed. Big kudu in front of us. He's very relaxed. So nothing that came this way. Kudu will also react to the presence of a predator. Two male kudu. Hello, boy. You'll notice that kudu behind this one has just turned broadside to this young male. And he's erected that crest of hair on his fringe. It's called a piloerection. It's when they erect that crest of hair, and it is a way that kudu fight. That's how they fight. It's not all teeth and claws. The way that he fought was he presented himself broadside, and he erected that fringe of hair, or that crest of hair, making himself look impressive. It's a way that they show one another who's the boss. I want to get forward a little bit. He's still in full display at the moment, and it is an impressive sight, a male kudu in full display like that. Have a look at that massive neck and those corkscrew horns. We're going to get onto him in a second. Those corkscrew horns, have a look right there. You can almost see straight down the middle of them, and that really thick neck for carrying around that rack of horns. Full-grown male kudu, he won't get any more turns in his horns. That's the maximum amount of turns that they get. And you get kudu with widely splayed horns and kudu with closely growing horns. He seems to be somewhere in the middle. Right here. Bloy on Twitter has just asked if the number of turns is an indication of age, and absolutely. They will reach a maximum amount of turns in about 2 full turns with the start of the 3rd turn. And I'm actually just going to see if in one of my books in my car I have a picture of the different horn twists, because it'll give you a nice indication of what I'm talking about here. I have it in one of my books. Just busy seeing. If you give me 1 second and I'll try and find a demonstration where they've got a graph of the different ones. But basically, that was a full-grown kudu. He won't get any more turns in his horns. Now, I'm sorry, but in this massive box of books that I have with me here, I don't have anything that will show you. Let me see, one more reference book that I have here on mammals. Give me 1 second, everybody. No, unfortunately, in all my books, I don't have one single picture of the different horn lengths of the different ages. Please excuse me on that one. I'd actually need a bigger car if I brought more books, and it doesn't have the answer to that question. But basically, in their first year, they won't have any twists in their horns. In their first year, they will only get a half a twist. In 2 to 5 years, they will develop the other twist and a half. And from 7 years onwards to 12 years, they will be the full-grown kudu with the 2.5 twists. I hope that answers your question. I'm sorry I can't show you a picture. Got the kudu on my right-hand side. And he is with a bunch of females at the moment and another big male kudu. So there are 3 big kudu, and this kudu is actually half a twist on the kudu we just saw before. I'm going to see if we can get to see him. There's a youngster. They are some of the most beautiful. Have a look at that. Ears almost as big as mine. Bit more hair on their head than I've got. This is a youngster. It was born last summer. They're born mostly in February. She looks like she's just had a milkshake for breakfast. Can I have a look at this big male here on the left-hand side? This time of year, the male kudu are in attendance with the females because they're wanting to mate with them. They're not. Male kudu are very hard to find, generally speaking, because they are solitary. There we have, and you can see, he's moving off. He's quite shy. We're going to try and see if we can get it as we pass. Have a look at that. Oh, and there he runs away. That was an impressive kudu. Here's a female. That's who he was hoping to impress. She's a full-grown female. Further indication of what to make the squirrels upset. It's not to say that there isn't anything in there, but squirrels stopped calling. The kudu were quite relaxed. The bush wasn't giving us any more indication that there was anything there. So what we're going to do is we're going to carry on quartering through the area and see if we can't pick up some sign further side. Dora in Ohio, hello Dora, has just asked me if I have done any guiding in the US or if I have any favorite animals in the US. I haven't done any guiding in the US, Dora, although I have visited the United States. I found it spectacularly beautiful in some areas. And my favorite animal there probably has to be your mountain lion and the moose. Although I'm not too sure if you have moose in the US, but definitely I quite enjoy them. They're comical looking animals. And mountain lions quite closely resemble our leopard here, and I must say I feel a certain kinship there. Offshore in the US, you've also got the one of the world's best blue whale viewing posts, just south of San Diego, and it is a place that I'd like to go back and visit some more. Is your blue whale viewing off of San Diego, and I'd really like to go and see General Sherman, your massive sequoia redwood that you've got further north. As far as we all know, it's the largest living being in the universe, and it lives in the time that we're alive on this planet, and something that I definitely want to have a look at before I left him. Wouldn't surprise me in the least. Not quite exactly where we left him. I can just see the flick of his tail. Can you see him over my shoulder there?
Listen away.
So that flicking of his tail was what gave him away. I didn't actually see him in that grass. It shows you how camouflaged he is. I mean, he's lying literally 1 or 2 meters away from where he was. Could hardly see him. Just that telltale flick of his tail that lets me know that he wasn't too happy with me coming that close to him. But I'm sorry, I couldn't see you, big guy. Your camouflage works too well. This is another really good example of how that disruptive camouflage of his breaks up his profile. You can hardly tell that there's a leopard there, except for when he picked up his head. Green eyes staring at us through the undergrowth. Let's see if in the last couple of minutes we can get a little bit closer to him without facing him direct on. He hasn't eaten anything more from this morning. I'm just going to reposition here slightly. So folks, we're ending off today with a beautiful view of Kunuma. We found him with a group effort this morning with a steenbok kill in the tree. He's now lying up with a full belly just next to us. We then tracked a female leopard's tracks or some elephant tracks, hoping that we'd be able to pick them up, but without any luck. We also then saw some kudu, some beautiful kudu, with male kudu, full-grown male kudu in attendance. We had a nice view of some birds and a starling, some We've answered some nice questions on carrier pigeons. I'm not too sure we've got a conclusive answer from that yet, but it's definitely something that I'll be following up on when I get back to camp. From myself, Stefan Winterboer, at the end of my second drive here at Djuma, VM on camera, who's been a great set of eyes, and Nikki in final control, we thank you very, very much for joining us. We look forward to this afternoon safari.